Guys, it's Steve with the Bourbon Basement. Welcome back. Uh, just wanted to say I had a lot of fun Friday night with our top 10 list. Ryan and I, we picked our top 10 bottles that we tried throughout the year. So if you haven't seen that live episode, go click on that live tab. Go back and watch that episode. You'll see every bottle that we did a show on this year. And we said what our top 10s were from those every bottles. There was 48 bottles, I think, in total. We gave our top 10 on all of them. Uh, Five of them matched mine and Ryan, so there was really 15 really top bottles up here, but my top 10 and his top 10 were a little bit different. What I'm going to do tonight, guys, is just invite you all to have a drink so I can be your drinking buddy while you watch this video. Tonight I'm pouring me some Bardstown Origin Series. Uh, I'm just going to have a little shot of it while I talk about these. And what I wanted to do tonight, since I haven't even told you all about this, I want to show you some of the bottles. Going with the fun that I had for the top 10 list, I wanted to show you my top 10 bottles that I got for MSRP this year. Now, these up here, not them. These are not MSRP bottles, and some of the know, and I'll explain that in a minute. But they're good bottles. I wanted to show them. At the Bourbon Basement here, I go bourbon hunting quite often. I'd say probably on average 2 times a week, just looking at different liquor stores. Sometimes I get lucky and get into these unofficial bourbon drops, like on a Wednesday or Thursday or Tuesday at some of these big stores. A lot of times I get some tips from some people I know that it's going to happen. Um, Sometimes I get some good deals in auctions. Sometimes I get some bad deals in auctions. Uh, Also, sometimes I just find we go to the big bourbon drops. I'm one of the lucky lottery winners and get to pick some good bottles that way. But I want to tell you the ones I found at MSRP this year, and some of the ones you're not going to see that I found are some E.H. Taylors, small batch barrel proof and single barrel. Got a couple of each of those, a little bit more of the small batch than the single and the barrel proof. But I found them at MSRP this year. Some of those were from Bourbon Drop. Some of those were just on account. Stag, Elmer T. Lee, uh, small bourbon drops. Some of them were big bourbon drops. But all at MSRP. And when I say MSRP, like Stag for $74, Elmer T. Lee for $74. Got the Michter's Toasted and the Michter's Barrel Strength this year. Those were both MSRP. The Michter's Barrel Strength I picked up at the distillery there in Louisville, right on the Whiskey Row. And the Toasted I actually found at a Liquor Barn. They were, let's see, the Toasted was $114, I think. And I think if you see those things on secondary market, they're going for anywhere from 175 to 200. Um, Kentucky Senator, I don't know if that's a sought after one by everybody, but I do like the Kentucky Senator. I got a couple bottles of the 7.5 year. I got a bottle of the 9 year. All those at MSRP. And then, of course, some Buffalo Trace products with the Weller 12 year, Weller Full Proof, Weller Antique 107. So I had a good year finding some good allocated bottles, and those aren't even up here in the top bottles that I found. I got these up here because I wanted to show you what can happen. You can find good bottles. These are all auction buys, so you can find good bottles at auctions, right? Sometimes you pay good prices, sometimes you don't. So I just stress that you be a little bit careful. So these are not in my top 10. These are my auction bottles. That I won. Well, except for this one, I don't know why I put that one up there in the auction bottles. But probably we'll just start with the most recognized one, I guess. So the Van Winkle, sorry about that. Van Winkle 12 year. It's part of the Pappy Van Winkle collection. Uh, you can hardly find those at MSRP anywhere. If you do, it's from a big store bourbon drop. You're not going to find them on them little Tuesdays or Wednesday drops. You're going to find them on a Saturday drop where there's 1,500 people there and everybody's getting an armband. So I never did win one. So I went to an auction site, started looking up the auction prices, Ended up getting this one for around $500. So by the time it got shipped to me, it's probably closer to six to my house. But it's a Van Winkle 12 year. Um, $600. I still saved a little bit of money on the secondary price of it. So you can find bottles like this. Uh, you're not going to go on an auction one time and win it for that. You're going to. I'm on auctions every week and several different auctions looking at these things. Sometimes one of these bottles will slip through the crack and I'll get lucky and I'll find it and I bid on it and I win. So that's your Van Winkle 12 year. This one is an exciting one for me. This is a Wild Turkey 12 year. If you're wondering what that is, you probably haven't seen one. They only go overseas. Uh, but the Wild Turkey 12 year I got at the auction, I won it for about 100, $105, something like that, which surprised me. You don't see many of these on the auction. So when I did see it, I was ready to bid and ready to bid a lot. Ended up winning at like $105. Uh, so by the time it got to me, it was probably more like 140. Didn't think that was a bad deal, although the Ear Wild Turkey 101, it's just a $45 bottle right now. So definitely overpaid, but it's something that you're never going to see here in the States, maybe for a while. And it's something that it just intrigued me. I'm a Wild Turkey fan. Now, this here's a Cream of Kentucky. It's 11 and a half year old Cream of Kentucky. I probably won it for about 80 bucks. I don't know what the MSRP on that is. I don't even know if there's a secondary market for it. Most of the time you see cast strength or the small batch, but this one's actually age stated at 11 and a half years. Um, this bottle, now this one here, Evan Williams, 12 years age. I've never seen it in a store anywhere, never seen it at a Bourbon's Drop, never seen it at Heaven Hill. But they do have it at the bar there at Heaven Hill, and that's where I tried it for the first time. And then I sought this bottle. Could only find it on the auction site. Actually won it for $95, so that means it's about 130 something like when it gets to my door. Don't know what the MSRP or anything is for that, but I was excited to get it for 95 because usually they at the auctions they're going for 125 and then you got to get them shipped and everything. So thought I got a good deal on that. We'll wait on this one. This is the King Ranch. The King Ranch Old Forester, $75 at an auction. Usually they go between 85 and 100, so didn't save a lot of money there. Don't know what the MSRP is on this, but I wanted one in my collection, and I'm going to drink these. You can see this one's gone, guys, and these are going to be drank someday. This is your Legion Yamasaki. Uh, that's it's a Jim Beam product. They did it with the Japanese uh, master distiller as well. They combine these things and come up with this one. This one here, total wine's $229. I got this one at an auction for like $75. So by the time it got to me, it's just a little over 100. So I think a really good bargain on this one. And you can find stuff like that. This one, don't go telling my secret here, but this one was absolutely free. It's about a $200 bottle in the stores. Don't know what the secondary market is, but it's the Willet 8 years aged. Uh, come in one of my auction boxes. I did not win it. I did bid on it. I didn't win it, uh, but I got this bottle, and I didn't get the 1792, I think 12 year that I actually won. So the 1792 12 year that I won was only, I think I won it for like 55 or $60. Uh, they gave me this instead of that. So really, I got this for 55 or $60, and I didn't complain. So I just kept this one, didn't call them, didn't complain, didn't do anything. So that's some of your auctions. Some of my worst auction wins were on Blanton's products. Blanton's famous around the world, right? So you get a lot of bidding and a lot of price hike on those. But I wanted some of those different Blantons that you don't see very often. And, they have the black, they have the so many of them. They have red and green. And I say red and green because that's what I bought. And the green, I ended up winning it for about $110, but it's only 80 proof. Uh, so I definitely overpaid because then it's at my house for about 140, 150. The red, I ended up winning for like 150. It's the same proof as original Blanton's. It's 93 proof. It's supposed to be a little bit extra aged, uh, but I paid 150 for it. An original bottle of Blanton's around my place, I can get them all day long for 75, 80 bucks. So definitely overpaid for them. So if you are going to go through auctions, guys, be careful because you can't overpay. You can get caught up in a bidding. You can get caught up in everything about, just wanting the bottle so badly. Then when you get it, you may not be able to drink it because you know how hard it was to get. So anyway, I'm gonna put these back here. These were just auction wins. Maybe my best bottles at the auction that I did win. Some of them I did make a value on. Some of them I did not. I definitely overpaid, but it was all bottles I want and all bottles that are going to be open on this show and tried one day uh, for us to experience. Now I left this one up here. Sorry. So this was not an auction win. It's just a nice bottle. It's the Old Fitzgerald 11 year from 2025. Managed to get it for $350. It's well above MSRP, but it's well below secondary price. But I had to buy. I didn't have to, but I bought several other things from that liquor store in order to get this one discounted for that price. So sometimes if you know somebody, you can talk to them, buy some other stuff that you might be wanting, some other stuff that you're going to be buying anyway, and you can get one of these bottles a little bit cheaper. So keep that in mind when you're bourbon hunting. Even if you don't know the liquor store and you go in there and you put 5 or 6 other bottles on the counter that you want, and then you can ask him, hey, what kind of deal can you make me on this one if I'm going to be buying all these? So anyway, that's what I did. I overpaid for it, but I can't wait to try it. I was very excited to find this bottle, even though I overpaid. So there you go, guys. Even us podcasters that have YouTube shows that go out and bourbon hunt, we still overpay for bottles. But what I wanted to do today is show you the great bottles that I got for MSRP. Now, granted, these were all at big bourbon drops. We went to a couple in Ohio, a couple Kroger openings, and we did real well there. Also, Liquor Barn in Lexington, Kentucky had some bourbon drops, 2 or 3 that we went to through the year. Uh, Sometimes we weren't even in the lottery, like we didn't win the lottery, so we just happened to be in line outside the store and got to go in, and they still had so many good bottles that we ended up picking up. So I'll start with this one. It's the Eagle Rare 12 year. This particular one was a bourbon drop at Kroger. Uh, Actually, I took a couple more people with me to buy for me, so I ended up getting 3 of these at that Kroger drop. And secondary market on these, you're probably seeing about $150 right now. These are $60 bottle MSRP, or it was at that Kroger anyway. So $60. That's what this is. 150 is what people are paying for them on secondary, maybe even more. I don't know. Uh, but just remember, $60. And I got 3 of those for 60 bucks and was very happy. I got one almost empty behind me here, and I got 2 on my shelf uh, that'll be empty. We're going to do a show on them. Uh, that's what we do here. Another one at the same Kroger bourbon drop. So this is on one table. This was on another table. So this is the Russell's Reserve. This is the 13-year-old barrel proof. Found it also at the same Kroger in Ohio. This is actually the same bourbon drop that I got these, and I'll do the next bottle in a minute. So this was on, I think they had 3 tables, and then they had the counter that you could go to. So the first table was like your Blantons and your E.H. Taylor, stuff like that. Some of those maybe your Weller Reserve and stuff like that. And then your second table was Eagle Rare and some more different Wellers and stuff like that. But this was on the last table. The MSRP on this is $199. So I did get this for MSRP. I think on the secondary market, these are only going for about 250. So that's if you're one of those guys that you really want the bottle, but you didn't want to pay secondary price, 250 isn't that bad because MSRP is $200. But that's the Russell's 13. And the next bottle I got at that particular bourbon drop, yeah, this is it. Well, I actually got another one too. Told you I had three people. But the next bottle, this is also on the last table. This is the 2025 12-year-old Old Forester birthday bourbon. Now, for that bottle to still be left, you all know that I was probably one of the first 100 in the store. I was actually 101. The two that I took with me were actually like number 50 and number, maybe 75, and then I was 101. So I did not actually hold one of these bottles in my hand, but they did. I ended up getting two bottles of this that day. This also, uh, these bottles go for 600, 550 to $800. Your birthday bourbons. This one here probably going to be about 550 to 650 on secondary. This bottle is also $200. Okay. And the last one I got at that particular bourbon drop in Kroger. So this all come from one bourbon drop, and it was very good. Is the cellar aged Maker's Mark. The cellar aged Maker's Mark also $199. It's 2025 release. Uh, Picked that one up at the same Kroger. So this one actually was picked up by me. This was on the last table. This was on the last table, picked up by somebody else. The other bottle on the last table was this one, picked up by somebody else. So these are the three on the last table that we got. We got all these off the second table, right? Uh, and well, actually, I do have another one. I got a Baker's 13 there at that one. That was up at the counter. Not part of that drop. It was just sitting up there. They were $120. That's cheaper than I've seen them. You can get them on the auction for about 120, maybe to $150. Uh, that may be the secondary price too. I don't know, but then you got to ship it and everything. So actually, this is the first one I found in the store. So I went ahead and got it. It was $120. But so these were pretty much from Kroger bourbon drops. Okay, so you can get good bottles. Get up early on Saturday morning. It's usually a lottery system. You get a wristband or something. You go there. You wait. They call numbers. Even if you're not one of the lucky ones, if you hang around, maybe one of the first 100 in the store after that, you might catch some good bottles like this. So all these were MSRP. Very happy with that. Now I'll talk about that one in a minute. This was at a Liquor Barn Bourbon Drop. This is the OKI 16-year single barrel. You can see it is gone. That was a buff turkey, the OKI buff turkey release. These are all going to be Kentucky bourbons too, guys, because that's what I do my podcast on. If you haven't watched, we do a live every Friday. We do videos, we do shorts. Tune in, give us a like and follow. But this is the OKI 16 year. Now, this is probably the most expensive bottle that I ever bought. You all saw me talk about the Pappy Van Winkle or the Van Winkle 12-year, right? I split that bottle with my brother, so I only paid half of that. So it was $250, which was a lot of money and probably what I thought was probably the most I was ever going to pay. This one was at a Liquor Barn Bourbon Drop. I did not know what it was when I got it. But when I went up there, I told you I do only Kentucky bourbons, right? So I was one of the last ones to have my number called. So when I went up there, the only thing left to choose from was a Penelope, which was not a Kentucky bourbon, this OKI single barrel 16-year-old, which is a Kentucky bourbon, and Elmer T. Lee. Now I had two bottles of Elmer T. Lee sitting on my shelf that I hadn't opened yet, and one that was already open. So I didn't need an Elmer T. Lee, and it was like $74. This one was $353, and I didn't know what it was, but I wanted a Kentucky bourbon. Didn't want to do an Elmer T. Lee, so I bought it. So it wasn't until after I got it that I knew it was a buff turkey, figured out, and I won't do a spoiler, but it's in my top 10 for sure. If you will go back and watch that live top 10 episode, it is in my top 10. You can see where that stands if you watch it. But that was probably the most expensive bottle I ever bought for MSRP, $353. Uh, This here is another Liquor Barn bourbon drop. It's the Michter's 10-year. Uh, it was up there. I was one of the lucky ones that got to go up, and these were still available. The funny thing about this is there was actually a 20-year there too. I don't know how much that was, but this was $204 for Michter's. I don't know what these go for in a secondary. I haven't opened this one, you can see, so I don't need another one yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go for 250 to $300. I don't know what the demand is on that right now. Maybe more. They may be up there around 400. Try because most of the secondary they always try to double their cost. I think so. You can pretty much assume double cost on most things. Sometimes they try to triple and quadruple their cost. I don't know, but this one's MSRP is $204. So if you ever see a Michter's 10-year and you want to buy it on secondary or in a store, if it's way more than $204, I'd wait because if you go to these drops and stuff, guys, you're gonna get this. You're gonna get them eventually. It may not be every year, and I had a really good year. I had a lot of people that wanted to help me. I had a lot of people that go with me and go to these bourbon drops, and they'll get me bottles that I want, which I appreciate. Uh, let's talk about this one here. So this one I just found in the store uh, in Tennessee. This is the Knob Creek 21, and I just found it sitting in a store down there in Tennessee. Uh, I was getting ready to leave, and then I looked up on one of the tall shelves, and this ain't behind a counter or behind uh, glass or anything. And I looked up behind on this shelf, and there's this Knob Creek 21 sitting there. And honestly, at that time, I had just finished my Knob 18 and really enjoyed it so much. And I know that Knob 18 is priced at pretty much $200. I think I got mine for, well, I bought two of them. I got one for 159 and one for 189. Those are at big box stores. So, around here it's Liquor Barn, Total Wine, stuff like that. Kroger, they sell a lot of MSRP stuff. Uh, but I paid $188 for the Knob Creek 18. Hadn't seen a Knob 21 yet. We were on vacation there in Tennessee. I stopped in there for the first time. Very first day, we had just got off the interstate and saw this bottle as I was leaving. Went and grabbed it because there was no price on it. Grabbed it off the shelf. It was the only one they had. Took it up there to the register and I said, "How much is this?" And he said, $220. And I looked at my wife and I said, "I'm not going to get it." And she said, "You ought to get it." They said it ain't going to be there through the weekend. And my wife said, "Go ahead and get it." And I said, "Well, 220, I don't know what it's worth." Well, MSRP on this thing, I've been looking, they're like $240 for MSRP. So I think I got this one for a little under MSRP. But maybe it was so early in the release, maybe that was MSRP then. But these are going for more now. If you look them up on secondary, they're going for more. Uh, and they're still hard to find. So the Knob Creek 21, can't wait to break into that one. That'll be a great episode. Then my last bottle that I got at MSRP, guys. Uh, this is the Weller CYPB. So to complete my Weller Rainbow collection, I needed the white and the orange. These are bottles you just don't see that often, and if you do see them, they're $400 to $500, maybe even more, up to 600 on a single barrel, I think. So secondary is crazy, crazy on this. But if you want to know what MSRP is on this thing, $79.99. 79.99. That's what I got this for. Uh, just a great find. Lucky me, lucky day. So now all I need is the orange. If anybody was out there has an orange and you want to donate it, just send it to the contact the Bourbon Basement. I'll get you someplace to send it there. Uh, but I've almost completed my rainbow. I still need the orange. Uh, so that's the best bottles I got in 2025 at MSRP right there. Hope you all enjoyed that. Stay around for just one more second. I don't do a lot of trading. I don't do any selling. I don't sell bottles of bourbon that I have. Uh, I, I've only done one trade my entire life, and it's the one I'm getting ready to show you. and I think I got a decent deal on the trade, at least according to secondary prices. Uh, but this one here, guys, this is the Old Foresters President Selection. I think they retail MSRP is about $225. Uh, so what I traded was a uh, Weller Full Proof, which MSRP is around 60 some dollars. And I did get it for MSRP at Kroger Bourbon Drop. So I traded that and traded another bottle. What was it? Oh, 1924 Old Forester, which I had 3 bottles of. And if you watch our episodes, I don't know which episode it is, but there's about 3 episodes in a row. I am searching that 10-year 1924 Old Forester. I end up finding it at Costco for 99 bucks and get it. So I don't know what the MSRP is, but it's more than $99 because Costco's usually under 99 or under MSRP. But anyway, so I traded that one and a Weller Full Proof for this bottle. These guys, it's one of the rarest bottles that's made by Old Forester. Of course, King of Kentucky is there too by Brown Forman, not necessarily Old Forester. It's just made by Brown Forman. They have several different distilleries there, uh, not specified which distillery makes it. But this one here is made by Old Forester. It's the President's Selection, $225 MSRP. If I traded MSRP bottles, which I did, I traded about $160 worth of bottles for it. So I think I come out pretty good. But it's my one and only trade. May probably never trade again unless it's one of these elusive bottles that I cannot get. I never have seen that one at a bourbon drop. I've never seen it in a store. I've only seen it online at Old Forester. And when they drop it and you get online, you get put in a waiting room, and by the time you get out, it's gone. So I didn't think that was a bottle I was ever going to get without just buying it secondary or trading. So I traded, got that. But I think 2025 was a very good year for the Bourbon Basement. I hope you all that see this video, I hope you go back and watch a couple of our live shows. You can see what we're about. It's just the father and son talking about some Kentucky bourbon. We only do Kentucky bourbon, uh, and there's a lot of it, guys. So if you go back and you watch the episodes and you like them, please like, follow us, and come back and watch us again. We're live every Friday, guys. So if you enjoyed this episode, like I did, these are fun to make. These shows are fun to make. Top tens and stuff like that are fun to make. I probably got more than 10 up here, but yeah, this is my top 12. Top 12 MSRP bottles for 2025. Hey, it was great to talk to you guys, and remember, why drink alone when you can drink with us?